Simon Fields here today in the audience. He works at Google now. I worked with him at Borland International in 1992, 1993, 1994. I recognize now that a lot of what I do as a tester came from arguing with this guy day in and day out about epistemology. I don't think I knew what epistemology was until I met Simon Field. And so that's how I hone my mind. It's one of the things that I'm going to recommend to you too, is you find people to criticize you. So I'm going to invite you to do that. Now, traditional boundary testing says you find out what the boundaries are, you hear a rumor about the boundary, you believe it, and then you try one before the boundary, one after the boundary. What I do is I ask what the boundaries are, and then I don't believe a single word I'm told, because those programmers have no idea where the boundaries are. A little about myself. I started as a programmer. After I quit high school, I became an arcade game programmer for Spinnaker Software. Based on that experience, I was hired to be a test manager at Apple Computer, not having had any experience as a tester or a manager. I was at Apple Computer for 4 years. A few months after I joined there, I became the test methodologist for my group at Apple Computer. That shows how screwed up our industry is. And then I went to Borland and got lots of wonderful experience there with bright people doing agile development. It wasn't called agile development back then, but that's what we were doing. Small a agile. And now I travel the world training the minds of testers. That's what I like to do. I challenge testers with problems, and I try to get their neurons to respond. And by doing that, their neurons get all muscular. That's the idea. But I started as a programmer, and that's one of the reasons why I know that programmers have no clue what the boundaries are. You ask a programmer what a boundary is, and you get, well, this is what I think the boundary might be. Go away. I'm busy. And so as a tester, what I have to do is take these little clues about what the boundaries might be, systematically not believe them, but systematically use them to try to do boundary testing while looking for the invisible boundaries that no one ever anticipated. You might think this is impossible to do. And if this were any place other than Google, I might let you go along and say, well, maybe it's impossible for you to do. But the kind of thinking that they encourage here at Google is exactly the kind of thinking that I'm trying to promote for the entire industry. The kind of people who can test for the invisible, to test for what's not there. And there are ways of doing that, and I can show them to you. Can you explain your test methodology cogently in 5 minutes or less? I can. I can because I've practiced doing this. And this is, again, is something a testing expert needs to do. You know, my first question is, where's the whiteboard? Show me the whiteboard. I'll give you my test methodology right there. You don't have a whiteboard? You got a napkin or something? Can I write on this table with this crayon here? I can draw it in the air if I must, but, diagrams help. Absolutely, I can explain my test methodology. I can explain it in a way that engages you in a conversation about it. This is what a testing expert needs to do. Now, I believe for any testing problem, for any claim, like the first set of claims I showed you, that a non-expert is more likely to look for book answers, to look for pat answers, to say, yes, this is right, that is wrong. Or if they don't know, they'll say, I don't know, and they'll stop. They'll freeze. I don't know. Like C-3PO, with smoke coming out. What I'm looking for in a budding text expert is this kind of behavior. Questioning the basis of the question. Being aware that what I've just been told is a projection from a hyperdimensional space onto a lesser dimensional space. And information has been lost when it's been turned into an English sentence. And I must find a way to replace that information, to bring that information out. Every test problem in the world is a murky problem. Remember that problem with overlapping events? One question that occurs to me when I address a problem like that is, can an event end or begin simultaneously with another event? In some contexts, the answer is yes. In other contexts, the answer is no. It's digital space. It's discrete events. You can never have exact simultaneity. But in other cases, yes, you can have exact simultaneity. And that changes how I develop test cases for this. Among many, many other things.